Okay, so it's time to take a look at splines here in Cinema 4D. So what are splines? Well, splines are primarily a sequence of vertices connected by lines lying in 3D space. The shape of these connecting lines, straight or curved, defines the interpolation. Apart from the direct connection of the vertices with straight, rigid lines, there are other kinds of splines that use an interpolation method where the lines between the vertices are curved instead of straight. These splines have a soft leading edge without sharp corners. The spline itself is infinitely thin. A spline is not visible when rendered. The spline has no three-dimensional depth, even though it occupies the 3D space. There are steps that you need to take in order to make a spline visible for rendering. Now, owners of Cinema 4D Studio can render splines using the hair and sketch and tune functions. However, many complex 3D objects, among other things, can be constructed in seconds out of these curves by using them with generator objects. Okay, so let's take a look at what all that means. So let's come up here and grab one of our spline drawing tools. I'm going to grab the linear. And just one piece of advice, don't ever try and draw in your perspective view because you're probably not going to get the result that you think you're getting. So if I just close this spline, you might think that this is what this looks like, but if we go into another view, you can see we're probably not getting exactly what we think. And if we use our orbit tool here, we can see that that is just flat on the ground. So we were looking at it from the camera's point of view over here, and it's not exactly what we thought we had. Okay, so let's just get rid of that. And let's go into one of our orthographic views. I'm going to go into the top view. I'm going to get roughly the same thing, except now I know that it's flat on the plane. I'm going to use the close spline option here to close that spline. We can come over here to the perspective view. Now, one thing you'll notice here is that the spline is drawn from white to blue. So it starts out white, and as it goes around to the end, it ends up being blue. So that's the natural progression of a spline here in Cinema 4D, white to blue. Now, if you need to change the sequence or reverse the sequence, you can right-click on the spline and say reverse sequence, and now you'll see that it goes blue and goes to white. So there are many different reasons that you might want to do that when you're working with splines here in Cinema 4D. Let's go ahead and pop back into our top view by middle mouse clicking and middle mouse clicking into the top view. So right now, all of these from point to point are linear lines. So another thing that you can do is if you select one of these points, let's select this point here, we could right click and change that to soft interpolation. And now you get these Bezier handles that you could come and affect like this, sort of like you do in Photoshop. Now let's go ahead and change that back to hard interpolation. So we will select that point again, right click, hard interpolation. Now, if I wanted to come back in here and add more points, I could do that by selecting the Move tool, holding Control or Command on a Mac, and clicking anywhere. And then I add more points. Okay, so let's take a look at another tool. Let's get rid of this. We have a freehand drawing tool. This probably is not my favorite because I just don't have much control with this, but that's how it works. It works very similar to the pencil tool in Photoshop. All right, so let's get rid of that. Let's take a look at the B-spline. This is a nice tool, and it basically creates an arc based on the last 3 points that you lay down. And again, you can come in here and you can choose these and you can manipulate these after you get your spline laid down. And the last tool that we're going to take a look at is the Bezier tool. And if you use Photoshop, you'll understand this one. If you click and click again, you get a straight line. If you click again and then drag, you're going to get a curve. So it works very similar to the pen tool in Photoshop. And again, once we get over here, and let's say that we want to go ahead and close this, we have our close spline over here in our attributes manager. We can just click that and it goes ahead and closes that spline up for us. So these are some of the drawing tools that are available to you here in Cinema 4D.